Hmm. We're back for an evening, not evening, it's nighttime, a nighttime stream with me. I'm not doing comics this time. I just wanted to, I'm not just in a mood to do something different. So, gonna grab some different materials and see what happens. kind of exploring an idea that I have for a film, actually. And I'm just sort of, I kind of figure out the layout of it. Um, the story, so I have a friend who, I'm kind of whispering because somebody's sleeping right now in the other room, and I don't want to, not the other room, but like the other part of the house. Anyway, I don't want to get too loud, but my mouth is right next to the phone, so it should be able to hear me okay. Anyway, so a friend of mine, is a filmmaker. He's a young guy. He's kind of like a film student, more or less. And I don't know how to say it. Like basically, I've been wanting to get into film forever, and it's just not a medium that is easy to do. You know, for 1,000 reasons, I'm sure most people can kind of figure that out. But he's solid. He's like he's into it, and blah blah blah. So the other thing too is I really would like to try my hand at acting as well. Like I feel that I could be a good actor if I had probably some training and experience, something, you know. But at the same time, I'm also a writer, you know. So like I kind of have the whole deal, you know, and I want to do it all. I want to do it all, you know. But with film, you kind of have to collaborate with people, and yeah, I'll say, right, you know. Anyway, so my friend has a kind of, I don't know what to call it, but he's interested in showing the part of American culture that is passing away, that is disappearing, and he wants to capture that, you know, sort of before it goes in a way. And I mean, that's kind of a painful thought, you know, to think about that. But anyway, but it's in a way suitable for the ideas and the themes that I work with, because I'm very much about preserving, um, you know, white culture, obviously Western culture, which would obviously include American culture. Um, and so, like, we actually shot a lot of footage, and we're sort of, his approach to filmmaking is not like the Hollywood approach where you have everything laid out. He does it more like uh, kind of sketches it out as he goes, sort of. And I'm sure that some people would say like, "Oh, that's not how you do it," blah blah blah, you know, whatever. But it's part of his like aesthetic philosophy is that it's more organic, and then also just the process of making the film is probably more enjoyable in some kind of way. And then there's all kinds of accidental things that happen that anyone who's a photographer would understand, because I think a lot of like good photography is about kind of noticing a moment, capturing some kind of a beautiful moment that is fleeting or maybe seems ordinary, but is, you know, on camera or on film is somehow beautiful or made beautiful in some way. And so there you go. So whatever. These are some of the thoughts, and we did have a sort of a character and a plot line, and it was all kind of coming together nicely. We shot over the summer and the fall and the winter, and his I just can't tell you how beautiful the shots were. They were just gorgeous. And my approach was to think like, okay, I'll write sort of the thoughts of this person and narrate it over the scenes that we're shooting. And it's going to be again about this kind of person who's losing things in his life and trying to find himself and this something. There's certain themes. I don't want to get too far into it. Leave some mystery, but it's not like a self-portrait or something like that. It's meant to be a story, with a character who has his own personality or something. And I don't know. Of course, I've gone through changes, and I think all art is biographical or autobiographical in some way. Let's see if you guys are getting the full view of this on screen. I hope so. Maybe I can adjust it. And so, like, how I envision the story would be, you're kind of, it's in a sense like a visual diary where you're following this man who's sort of, he's kind of, not that he's so much a loner, but he's alone walking through these kind of different landscapes, and he's contemplating how alien he's become in his own world, in his own country. Scenes of, say, like him in parks where there's like, immigrants all over the place, and he's thinking like, how did I become disenfranchised from my own world? And then flashbacks to things like, divorce or various kind of traumas and things that, maybe getting fired for being not fitting quotas, or various things on those themes, as you can imagine. And then he the current iteration of the concept is that he's kind of hit a wall where he doesn't really want to live anymore. And so he has this idea to go out in the woods and build a little shelter in the winter and just kind of meditate out there, and then sort of give himself like one last chance, and that it'd kind of be like his communing with God, and sort of thinking like, if I'm gonna, he's seeking answers, he's seeking the will to live, and if not, then he'll just like starve himself out there and freeze to death, and then no one will ever find him. Maybe like 100 years they'll find his bones or something like that. And so that's kind of what this illustration is here, is this little sort of hut that he's made, and I'm just kind of doing some concept art for this project. I do have like a certain location that, well, there's things that happen. That part of it is as he's going through this like dark night of the soul or what have you, he's visited by spirits, and some of them are animals. I was even thinking that perhaps maybe some kind of Native American mythology or spirits of those kinds could be perhaps, in the mix of the story. Um, I have to work that out with the director. He's got his own uh, visions and ideas and as well. So it's a collaboration, and I'm excited about it. I think it's. But the other thing too is that in film, I feel like you have to put the actors through hell to make it really, like, to convince the audience that this person's really going through something that is extraordinary. So, like, if you look at a film like The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio, it's based on a true story. I actually read the story that it's based on, and that there's some kind of like Hollywoodizing or whatever of the story, that like he didn't have a Native American wife and son or whatever, like these little things like that. But nevertheless, the dude went through hell and survived all these hardships, and it's just one of these like stories of man overcoming the most incredible odds. And so I think for me anyway, these are the kind of stories that I don't know. I feel I'm moved by. To me, part of what art should do is it should. I don't know how to say this, but like you live vicariously through the characters in the movie, and you go through their transformations with them. Um, I think it's not hard to understand such a thing, but so yeah. I mean, obviously, I have a certain theme here about overcoming the conditions that we're in the movement, but I don't want it to be like so obvious and so like blatant or hit you over the head kind of. I want it to be more subtle, more universal, and symbolic, obviously. Um, so yeah, so we started this film, and he's in school and this and that, and there's just there was a death in his family and this and that, and then life happens with him. I've been through all kinds of shit. Hippocratic Oath is here. We will all follow Uncle Ted into the woods. That's it. See, no, there's an analogy right there. There is an analogy. You see what I'm saying? Like this kind of like I don't know, escape the technocracy. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you do know what I'm saying. So this guy he's not Uncle Ted. Like he doesn't have that, you know, that thing going on. But he's really in a state of like, I'm either gonna find the answer or I'm gonna die out here. I'm not going back. I'm not going back. And even if I do find the answer, I might just I might let myself go anyway. Because he's at a stage in his life where he's past the breaking point, and he can't really muster any kind of desire to try to live in society anymore. Um, uh, Again, I think that's like a really powerful symbol for a lot of people. I'm not like, I mean, I would love a cabin and chickens and, that kind of stuff, but I'm not trying to disengage with society. But this character is, he's different in that regard. Maybe not so strong. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for. But well, he's strong in his will, to do this thing. He's strong enough to like starve himself to death. That's a lot of willpower. Um, so anyway, so he's out in this environment, and I'll be honest, there's a lot of things that happen in my dreams that have been inspiring me. I have, of course, I can't really remember the dreams terribly well because they're dreams, and that's how that works. You wake up, and unfortunately, it all kind of evaporates. But I have a lot of very strange dreams recently, and they're super vivid, like very, very vivid. But one of the dreams, I don't know how to, I'll just say the dream because like it doesn't make any sense. Don't expect it to make sense. But there was this, well, I had a nightmare the other night. I was being chased by a serial killer, but I woke up just as he got, close enough to kill me. Nice how the alarm clock goes off right at that moment. But what else? So there was this like Chinese woman that was leading me around this. It was sort of like a super mall. Like I've ever been to these malls that are like they're almost like cities in and of themselves. And I can't remember what she was saying or anything, but she was sort of like a seemed like very rich and powerful, and I just remember like not liking her and not liking, sort of the things that she was saying. I think perhaps she symbolized something of like that kind of, Chinese globalist power where, we're all just meant to be like shopping droids, and that kind of thing. And then finally, towards the end of the dream, I managed to sort of like get back home, and she followed me because I think I basically rejected her mission or whatever it is that she wanted to lead me to. And I'll have the okay, hold on. And so she's followed me back, and when I got home, there was this huge white swan that was in my house, and I can remember just picking it up and holding it and like hugging it and loving it like profoundly, just like this. I mean, it's this exquisite, almost spiritual kind of creature, like almost like this mythical, amazing, beautiful creature. And I mean, a white swan, it seems kind of symbolic, I would say, I guess. Do I want the smoke to go that way? That seems a little awkward. I'm not sure I like this composition so much. And then it was in a sense my way of saying like, no, I'm taking ownership of myself and my mission, and I'm not gonna be this other thing that she wanted. And then she asked, "Oh, well, can I hold it?" And I said, "No." So like, I don't. It's weird how like just talking about it sounds weird and sort of not that much of a big a deal. But like in a dream, things can mean like so much to you. They can just a simple thing like that, like saying no, could to me in the dream was profoundly meaningful because it was in a sense taking the power. You know what I'm saying? And that was pretty cool. So I mean, when I'm doing what I call fine art, a lot of it I think is based on dreams and thoughts of, I don't know, it's like a reflection of the subconscious mind, I suppose, or my subconscious mind. But I'm kind of thinking of like, well, what are the spirits that will visit this character in this story, and how would like in film, how would we produce that? You have to have some kind of basic special effects that you could, you know, like low budget special effects that would somehow work. You know what I mean? What's that film, the Blair Witch? That's like a no budget film, but it was scary as hell. And they just the way that they told the story, they were able to convince you, of these things, and it was quite profound. But then I was thinking, okay, like maybe we'd get like some stock footage of animals in the snow, and then splice it into the story, and then the way that the camera cuts away, that it could imply maybe the reactions that I have to these things, and cut it back and forth. I also had this idea of doing like AI animations, and then filming some of it on a green screen, and then using those AI animations, in the background, to give it a really weird, kind of a very weird, dreamy kind of quality. I will say I'm actually very fascinated with local Native American lore, and I think that could add a really cool quality to this. I'll probably use some ink on this later. I'm really just kind of trying to draw it out at the moment. Yeah, it's not comic book inking, it's something else, isn't it? Maybe a fox. I've been seeing a lot of fox recently. This kind of, I don't know if they're baby fox or the fox around where I live are just small. I don't really know. But they're very cat-like. I've noticed they're very, very cat-like. And like, I do like my art to be loose in a way, but like this is really me just trying to lay things out and feel things out, So the check's in the mail for the new comic graphic novel project. Pretty excited about that. Getting the team together. Got colorist. I guess the guy who's producing it and paying for it is he's thinking about putting out the first half of it, first 5 issues, and getting that up on Amazon. Hippocratic Oath says, hold on, let me get my glasses on here. AI would be cool. It will destroy Hollywood. Yeah. There's something very, very nightmarish about AI. I'm sure you've seen, like extremely weird AI movies, and they do like beer commercials, or just like surreal films that are, they look like they're trying to be real, but then you can see something is horribly wrong, and I think that is, in a weird, I don't know, for me, it's hellish. Like, it's like, if I hate to say this, but like this is to me what hell would probably be like, is just this extremely surreal, weird world where everything is just melting into the next thing, and there's no, everything's kind of sinister and unreal. It's just I find it like horrifying, like just ugh, I can't really describe how much I don't like it. I know that there's like cool AI stuff out there, but a lot of the sort of video stuff that I see is just creepy as hell. It's really creepy. Anna Lamas is here. Am I pronouncing that right? Yamas? Hola, hola, mi amiga. I don't speak Spanish, but no hablo español. But happy to have you here. I've been getting more Spanish-speaking people visiting the channel, and I'm curious what the algorithm is. This is not my normal show. This is just me working on some concept art for a film project that I may or may not do, depending on resources, time. But I don't want to be king of the unfinished projects. I don't want to do that. But let's see. Haha, don't worry. Okay, good. I love how Spanish-speaking people write ja instead of haha, like that is, of course, the phonetic. I did write a song in Spanish a long time ago, and it said, I won't sing it, but I'll say the words were, Mira, porque no hablo las palabras de amor. How was that? Was that good? Was that good? So, I don't know if maybe you're the only one that understands those lyrics. So I'm really just, this is just a not such a special show. It's just me kind of feeling out what I'm doing with this project here. Maybe I would like to get some color in on this. That'll help. I have to realize, like, the light source is here, so and as far as concept art goes, it's not so much that it's finished kind of photographic art or whatever, but it's something I can show the director and say, like, we could go out in the woods, chop down some branches, and like build a lean-to, and start a fire and set the scene up. Maybe get like what do you call those? Like the branches from pine trees, which you can use that as like a kind of a rug, inside the lean-to. We would have to do some planning, like how long are we going to shoot? Is this the kind of thing we can do in a day? Obviously not gonna work in a day, but I don't know. Anyway, we'll work out those details, I think, when the time comes. But there's already a lot of really good footage, and like it's me at like historic locations, kind of thinking through like people fought and died here to build this country, and what was it for? Like this soil is filled with blood and bullets, and why how did we come to this? So that it's, in a sense, it's like a visual essay of, the things that we think about in the movement that nationalists would think about, how do we save our country, and to have a sense of connection to the past. Whereas the education and maybe not so much the education, but a lot of the circumstances that we live in today really we're very, very much cut off from our past. There's like no sense of connection to the past. And so what does that mean? Like, who are we without a past, you know? So that describes how kind of existentially lonely the character is in this film. And, you know, it sort of shows like some motivation for his journey, you know? I think having personal tragedies like divorce and, you know, maybe in the divorce he lost his child, or and then maybe there's some death in the family, or there's some other events in his life that, you know, or would push a man off the edge kind of thing, you know. That I think we need to have that in there as well, just to humanize him more, give him help people to care about him as a character. You know, you have to. The audience has to be invested in the character, right? Otherwise, why watch the film? You know. So in a way, if you perhaps have some of these events happen, then maybe shut up. I'm trying to talk. Shut up. Shut up. Commercials. I hate fucking commercials. But you get what I'm saying. Like, this is just normal script writing kind of stuff. Um, I'll give you guys a peek at some other artwork that I have here. Like, if you're new to my show, I do a lot of comic book illustration. So this is very different from what you're watching me do right now. And I just want you to know that, like, if you're the first time to this channel, you know, I do all kinds of art. So this is more like the stuff I do more frequently. But right now I'm experimenting with this. We'll see kind of how it all plays out. But hold on. Let me get some red in here. I would like to get back into some watercolor too. But anyway, so this is just some concept art. So film inspiration. So the Revenant with who's the director of the Revenant? Damn, I forgot. What other films? Well, I'm not comparing this character to Jesus in any way, but Jesus has his 40 days in the desert. And I like the idea of this character having his kind of 40 days in the desert, only it's the woods, and it's in the winter. And as such, you know, and then of course, you know, Jesus is met by the devil and has these kind of, you know, spiritual experiences, I guess, for lack of a better word, where he comes through, you know, stronger on the other side. And so I'm really inspired by that. I think that's a very cool story arc. I know you know, some people might be offended at the way I'm looking at this. I hope not. I don't mean anything like that. But of course, the Buddha had his time in the woods, you know. So there's something very mythological about it. I suppose you could say things like, you know, Odin was nailed to a tree, and there's all these things, you know. But yeah, it truly is meant to be mythological, you know. in this regard. What do the spirits have to say to him, though, and what does he make of it? How does it change him? I will say, at the end of the story, I have this idea that he finally comes to terms where he recognizes, yes, I want to live, and I have great things to accomplish, and I have to go back to the world. I have to join society again. But here he is out in the woods, far out, way out in the woods. It's winter. Perhaps there's a storm or something, and so just getting back to civilization, he might die. Just trying to do that. Oh my God, I love your style. Oh, I assume you're talking about this stuff because it's way more graphic. You know what I mean? Like it's like super tight. It's like comic books. And it's fun. This is the fun stuff here. So what I'm doing right here is a different kind of art. So I'll tell you what, I'll show you something, and this will give you a sense of like what's this meant to be. Where is it going? And what kind of sort of artistic background does it come from? So I don't know how well you can see this. Maybe I'll zoom in a bit. I think I can do this. So this kind of work that is illustrative, it's very beautiful. This is kind of the illustrative tradition that I'm sort of drawing from. You can see, look at how surreal this piece is. How it's beautiful and horrifying at the same time. And the use of the light is very dramatic. So these are more aligned with like the spirit of. I'm sorry, I know the light's kind of reflecting off it. Maybe I can't really change that. Maybe put my hand up here. But you're getting this sense of like these epic landscapes and these epic stories that are occurring. These again, you have these kind of like mythological beings. I'm in love with this kind of stuff. Let's see. Hippocratic Oath says the scene reminds me of Black Elk Speaks. I know I've heard that. I've heard of that. I assume that's a film. Refresh me here, buddy. I'm like, sometimes I blank out. My mind is on something, and then people are like, "Oh yeah, that film and that thing," and I'm like, "Well, I know it, but my mind is focused on something else right now." But so you're beginning to see sort of where I'm going with this in terms of like the intention of the artwork. This is very dreamy, and there's a story being told, but you're not quite sure. And there's this curiosity about the character and like what's happening in this character's experience. What are they going through? There's some badass artwork right there. And even like the environments. Like, look at this environment here. It's pretty cool. And it's the kind of stuff you see in movies a lot. It's not really uncommon. Now, I'm just sort of scratching out the image just on my own here. Now, check out this. This is pretty weird. That's got a very bizarre sort of, I don't know, techno dystopian world story to it. It's kind of fascinating. The music actually fits that perfectly. And so I think you guys get what I'm after here. You know, like the use of like really, really strong shadows in these. I'm sorry, my the thing my phone is hooked up to is in the way. I can't move this book around that well. Hold on. So Hippocratic Oath says it's a book, Black Elk of the Lakota tribe. If you have schizophrenic breakdown, the shaman takes you away from the tribe and puts you in a little wooden hut. Woo! Wow. Wow. So there you are. I mean, like, I'm sure that these ideas are kind of in the mass consciousness of in some way. You know, that there's something there that just kind of, it's not an original idea per se. You know, but to actually do it, in film, like locally, for real, and like be the guy, in the woods, and like put myself through physical hardship, to make this film, and so that the viewer of the film will be transformed in some kind of way, I think it's exciting. I think it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to possibly doing that. There's a lot of nudity in this book as well, which I apologize. I didn't really think ahead when I was turning the pages, but anyway, it's an interesting mix of like horror and beauty in a lot of ways, and that's stupid, but like, and then a little bit of comedy too, in some of the pieces. But anyway, so I think that explains myself. This is sorry, Spectrum 20 whatever this is a very famous book. It's the best in contemporary fantasy art. You can get that at your library. You can look it up at your bookstore. A lot of these people work in Hollywood and stuff too. Like you get the idea. So now that you've got that as a context, you're starting to see what I'm after. Okay, so Black Elk had this breakdown when he was young and saw the white man coming and the end of the buffalo hunt. Yeah, so there's a difficult theme, is the theme of the potential of the end of the white race, of the whites going the way of the Indian. And if anyone knows me, they know that I've actually worked with First Nations peoples, and I'm a big supporter of preserving their cultures. If there's no malice or weirdness or whatever there, but at the same token, I don't want that to happen to my people. You know what I'm saying? I was watching one of these videos. I forget the name of the site. It's like Omegle or something. Omegle, something like that. You guys, the Gypsy guy became famous on that channel, where it's basically a website where you can meet random people on the internet and have conversations, and people will film themselves doing that. Anthony, welcome, Anthony. Nice to have you on the show. You just missed like the big important part that I did, but just for a quick thing here, this is some of my other artwork. It's very different from what I'm doing right now, which is concept design for a film. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that there was one of these random people meeting up on the internet, and there was a sincere conversation. They weren't fighting or anything. but essentially the white guy was talking about white replacements and how he doesn't want that, and then the black guy who was, intelligent and sincere, but, he was like laughing about it at the same time. And so, like, nobody loves us, nobody wants us, to survive. They take pleasure in our disappearance, in our suffering, even though they get all the benefits and from us and the civilizations that we built. So it's suicidal to want us to disappear, but they're not smart enough to understand that, or their heart is so clouded with anger and jealousy and rage that you get the rest of the picture. Anyway, so it's disturbing as hell to watch people laugh at such things like that. It's pretty sick, to be honest with you. So, this is the type of experience that this guy is having in some uh, archetypal sense. He, in a sense, is an archetype or a symbol of, you know, I guess, the white man and questioning, his existence. Um, Again, I'm not going to make it so obvious. It really should just be, like, people who are sophisticated are going to be able to see, those that subtext to it. But yeah, I think you understand. I don't have to keep explaining myself on that topic. But anyway, maybe I'll get right into the dude here. Kind of lay out. He's probably going to be bearded. Time to get the glasses on again. He's probably wearing a hat or something. I mean, I envision him as being like very, very thin too. And like just, like a kind of person who's given up essentially, like sort of almost like a bum, you know. But then that would mean that I have to. I gotta like let my beard grow out to some extent where I look like shit, And I don't know if I want to do that, but this message is held for review. Okay, let's take a peek. Hippocratic Oath says the Hopi shamans. Hold on. The Hopi shamans said something similar. The white man will commit suicide, but it will be bad for everyone. Hopi are cool. The Buddhists understand their mandala paintings. Oh, that's a fascinating topic you're kind of stumbling into here. Yeah, my view is that I guess I would say that like I see religion and culture in two lenses. That there's the Abrahamic ones, and then there's the indigenous ones, and these are sort of the two ways of being, I guess, in the world. The indigenous way and the Abrahamic way. And I will say I'm more on the indigenous side. I sympathize more. I feel that when you lose connection with nature's ways and nature's laws, then you are headed for ruin. And there's that. But the thing is, what Westerners, white man, whatever, we have our indigenous ways as well. So we just have to get back to it. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually more positive now than I've ever been in terms of like what's happening, what I believe will happen, where things will go. Um, I don't know. I think that there's self-fulfilling prophecy. You know what I mean? You have to be careful what you manifest. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Um, so there you go. Um, but yeah, the white identity movement's a human rights movement. And it would really be good if we had like allies, people of color that were allies to us. It's literally everything the opposite of Marxism. Marxism diametrically turns the world upside down, like quite literally. It's the function that if you can change the meaning, you can like just arbitrarily change the meaning of a word, and therefore the reality of that thing is changed. I just saw a very very horrifying news report today. There's a new, I don't know what to call it, like a new campaign on the left. This thing that they call spiritual abuse. That's the term they're using, spiritual abuse. And what it is it's a fake victimhood, like all the other fake victimhoods they have. And the victim are those who have suffered under religious extremism, and therefore, if your child is suffering under religious extremism, then the state can take him or her away and then do like gender reassignment surgery on them. This is the fucking hell that this world is living in. This is the evil that we're living in. It's very real, and I mean, not only that, the head of like the medical, I don't know the names of these fucking things, but basically like whoever's in charge of like saying that it's something like the CDC, but it's like another health organization that, he's like, oh yeah, this is a crisis and da da da. No, it's not. You're just a fucking cunt trying to make money. Go to hell. That's where you belong. Because if you're fucking doing shit like that, I guarantee you're fucking going to hell. I guarantee it. I mean, religious extremism bullshit. You are the religious extremist. You see what I'm saying? Like people who invent these fantasies in order to abuse children. Yeah, I'm sure the devil's got a very special place for you. Quite sure of that. So, you can't hide in the woods, and you can't, go peacefully. You can't die off. You have to fight. And but there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Mental, social, psychological processes that people have to go through. Yeah, I don't. It wasn't the WHO or the World Health Organization. It was something in America, like the American Health Organization is, like a national one. Anyway, there's some sick ass shit out there. And then I also had this idea of like maybe he actually died and he froze to death, and all of those visitations by the spirits were were kind of part of his death experience. You know what I'm saying? And then maybe he left a diary or something documenting these things, and then you know what I'm saying? Like you, I mean, I'm just thinking through different devices, like literary devices, to make this character more profound. You want to leave the theater, so to speak, feeling just like, oh wow, and like speechless, and so the character has to go through hell and come out on the other side, you know, for the viewer to really feel like, oh my God, that was so amazing, That's really the sensation I want to give people, you know. I mean, it sounds formulaic in the sense of like, put character through hell and then have some kind of miraculous comeback. Is that? But even who's our guy? The hero wears 1,000 masks. The Power of Myth. Joseph Campbell. So this is one of his things in his studies of global anthropology, is that there is this, I don't know what to call it. It's like a deep human archetype for the hero's journey, and they're almost all the same. There's some form of tragic event where the hero goes into the underworld, and then in the underworld, has a quest of some kind, and then through the trials and tribulations of the quest, comes out on the other side, the hero, And so the other side of it too is, it's like, well, how do you make a film on no budget that is like a good film? You know what I mean? Well, you gotta have imagination for starters. Let's take a look for White Well-Beings here. Oh, it's great to have you. Good evening. Salute. Intriguing style. The scenery, Mr. Kent, quite distinct from the comic. Yeah. I was just, prior to your coming on the show, I was going over this book to talk about, what I'm after with this. Like, these are illustrations from storybooks and movies, and they have a kind of like fine art kind of quality to them, a very mysterious, beautiful, mythological quality, So like, I was just essentially trying to set the stage of like, well, what is it that I'm trying to do with this image here? And so, I could go in. I mean, this needs to be worked up like way more. But since I'm not going to be doing this show like for 12 hours straight, I'll probably just get into some of the line work here. Might have to change the music. I don't know. Can you guys even hear the music? I don't know. I see. Appreciate the backstory. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess I don't want to have to tell the whole story again that I've been telling for the past hour, but I just kind of keep going here. So I'm looking at making a film with a friend, and this is kind of some of the sort of concept art for the film. We've actually already shot quite a lot of footage based on this concept. And he'll be really thrilled when he sees this too. But yeah. So tell me, What Well-Being, how did you find my channel? Like, was it like a YouTube algorithm thing, or somebody recommended to you, or? There is a show that I'm going to urge you to watch. It's Thursday nights, 8:30 Eastern, and it's called Equal Training. And so there's a guy that goes by the name White Student T, who has written this book called Equal Training. And the book is essentially teaching us how to counter and deconstruct critical race theory and diversity, equity, inclusion, quotas, and all of that stuff. So you can look around this channel a little bit and see the shows that we have so far. I had to take a week off, but we're going to be getting back to that shortly. And so School of the West. It's a good friend. We've been on some shows together already. I'm not 100% sure what the final outcome will be, meaning like, will we do an ongoing show? One thing I know for sure that we want to do is reach out to national organizations that are currently fighting critical race theory in schools. And so that's going to be an exciting project. One of my personal, big smile, all right, good. One of my personal goals is to try to get my local library to start a white identity book section. And I'm wondering if like white identity needs to be, is the right name that I'm looking for with this. Like, should it be white positive? Should it be identity politics? Like, they're definitely gonna try to push back on me, like I know that straight ahead. So I'm strategizing to essentially make a case whereby if they don't do this, I could sue them. And I'm not saying like I'm trying to sue them. That's not what I'm trying to do. But, essentially it would be discrimination if they don't do this. And the only reason why any of these institutions do anything that is anti-white is because of the legal framework within which they work, and they have to work. And the problem is anti-whites are making the fucking laws. You know what I'm saying? So I believe me, I'm not in any way interested in suing anybody. I'm terrified of courts, and I don't have any faith in law, especially when it would come to something like defending white people. Oh my God, what a horrible thought that is. It's just totally unfounded. But let's just say that like I would have the legal grounds on which I could do that. I don't know if I would pursue such a thing, but let's just say that the news, so to speak, of the whole thing would be sort of like, here's the case where you can, how do I say it? It'd be like a template for people to go and get their libraries to create, white positive book section. There's national guidelines for what libraries are supposed to do, and having cultural representation and blah 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 blah, all that shit. You know what it is. You know what I'm talking about. That's required by law. It's a big mission they gotta do. I'm like, well, if you're gonna follow your own rules and your own standards, then you absolutely have to have a white identity book section. You've got LGBT, you've got Black history, you've got blah 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 da 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 da. You can't have that and not have a white book section, a white identity book section. So I'm essentially kind of thinking through, well, it's a chess game. You have to kind of think, well, okay, if I do this, and then I want to give them as much I don't know, like, here's everything you need to do this, so that they can see, like, okay, we have to do this, and there's not going to be any pushback. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just go in there lazily or casually. I want to really, really do this right. And White Student T's got all the strategies and the background on this stuff. So it looks good. It looks really good. I think that this is very doable. Um, my intentions are good. Like, I want people to have education. I want to have people to have access to the books, the knowledge, the resources, the research that we all have, and that we've been doing on our own, for however long you've been in the movement. Um, I can't tell you. I mean, for years I've been researching this stuff, um, and a lot of it is audiobooks, interviews, and such. Like all of the what do you call it? American Renaissance conferences. These are people that do scientific research and bring massive amounts of data to these conventions, and then share and say, like, this is race realism. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of like puts the grifters, the CRT grifters, on the run. You know what I mean? Because they have the full. It's like the more ignorant the public is about their grift, the easier it is for them to, like, convince people of their lies. You know, so you get the idea. Um, so it's a pretty simple image here. White Belt Wellbeing says, back during the after party days in American Zoo, Zarathustra. Yes, that has been very informative. This show with White Student T will be re-listening. I'm so glad that you're following, and it's nice that you remember my old brand. I have, like, very fond memories of being on the after party. Um, that was just a great time in my kind of career, I guess, if you want to call it that. Like, in this movement, it's not a career, but my time in this movement. Because I've done a lot of content development, and I've had almost every, not all of them, but, like, I've had, like, a very huge amount of influencers on my show. I've been on many shows: Millennial, Decameron, of course, After Party. I'm friends with a lot of important people in the movement, and such and such and such. And now what I'm doing is carrying the torch for the White Art Collective. And I haven't really announced it yet, but I'm going to have, like, a Christmas party show. And you guys are the first ones to hear about that. So I will be reaching out to a lot of people, and there's a lot of new artists. There's a lot of good stuff going on, but it's not so much, like, in the public eye. And I feel like it's my job to get it out there more. So I'm just working on it. I'm working on stuff. There's a lot going on. And then there's also the notion of, like, well, how can I strategize to be more effective? How can I plug the arts into the movement more? These are things that I think through, and I'm certainly open to, you know, suggestions, ideas, yada yada. So that's pretty cool. AZ was quite unique in our cause. Yeah, thank you. Every episode was heard and valued. Cool. Tell me more about your thoughts about AZ, because I have very fond memories of him and that period of time. Um, I think I need to get it more bold with some shadows here. I mean, that was pretty much the first iteration of what I was doing, and it actually started off as a web comic. I have a superhero character. Hold on, I'll show you. I think I have it handy. Yeah, this is this is American Zarathustra. That's the character right there. And I did a web comic with this character called American Zarathustra, and that was like my website. And then somehow it just sort of evolved into a bigger brand. And I'm really like anxious to bring this character back and do something with him. It's freaking sick. It's a very cool character. Um, One of my originals. Let's see what you have to say here. Western Kind is here. Good to have you, Western Kind United. Greetings, folk and friends. I'll give you guys some artwork to look at while I read these things here. Hold on. That's Militia Man. Greetings, folk and friends at Donald Kent Art. The drawing is looking good. Thank you, considering the theme. Living in San Antonio 99% of my life, the idea of freezing to death is far from mine. yeah, yeah. Early in the show, I explained the entire narrative behind that character. It's concept art for a film that I'm kind of working on. High Speed Drifter. Oh, dude, that is a kick-ass name. Hi, it's Art Acrobat. All right, welcome. For White Wellbeing says salute. Hails Acrobats. Good to meet AZ. Very good. So, gosh, I'm here. We're all here. The gang's all here, and like this piece here is a concept design for this film. I guess I'll kind of review the film concept a bit. Local friend of mine and I have been shooting some footage for this story, and it's a kind of a story about a white man who is struggling with himself, but also with the notion of extinction. And there's just various events that occur in his character's story arc that cause him to kind of hit a wall where he feels like he's going to go out into the woods and build this little I don't know what even to call it, little hut, and just meditate and try to find the answers. But his thinking is that if I can't find the answers, I will just starve to death or freeze to death out here. I'm not going back to society. It's sort of a Ted K kind of thing, but without hurting anybody. He's a good guy. But while he's out in the woods, he's visited by these animal spirits, which each have a kind of lesson that they impart to him. And so the director and I are, he's an artist in his own right, and he's got his own ideas. And one of the things that he's really interested in is capturing the changes of America and what's happening. He wants to sort of record or, I guess like document traditional America and like the older generation and all these kind of traditional neighborhoods and people, and just he's more of a documentary filmmaker than say a drama filmmaker. Um, anyway, this is sort of what's happening in this story. I'll be honest with you, I did have the idea of him like taking like huge amounts of mushrooms too, and having a very weird psychedelic kind of experience that helped him to communicate with like forest spirits or dead spirits of blah blah blah, all this, and that's sort of a discussion that we're having about the film. Like, do we want to do that? Is it appropriate? Does it fit the character? Is he the kind of guy that would do that? And to be honest, he's not really that kind of guy. But he's sort of he's in a kind of a desperate quest for answers, and I think maybe he thinks that that is a way for him to break through to another dimension, to find answers of, you know, like, what is my purpose here, and how can I, you know, I'm in a like a dying empire, and should I what's my reason to live, you know, really. Of course, the movie's going to have a moralizing positive ending to it. He will come through this with his answers, and his answers are greater answers for everybody, you know, who are all kind of struggling with postmodernism. You know what I'm saying? If you've seen movies like The Revenant, then you'll know, like anybody see The Revenant? You know, with Leonardo DiCaprio, that kind of like man versus nature, all this stuff. There's a lot of comments going on here. Let me read this. Nice shelter. I know a white man who lives in the woods like that. Wow, very cool. I love those videos of like white dudes like building, you know, houses out of nothing, out of like just, you know, wood and mud and rocks. Those people impress the hell out of me. I would like to learn how to do that, to be quite honest with you. I saw images of Hunter in Sweden that entered the domain of a brown bear. Of his head, only a section of jaw remained. The forest can be unforgiving, and those not cognizant of their environment. Right. So that, what you're saying right now, plays into this narrative pretty well, in terms of like, there's dangers in the woods, but they're not just bears, they're actual spirits, and like maybe even madness too, you know. So the director and I have to hash this stuff out. It's sort of a collaboration project. But even if I'm like, you know, we have to find some local woods where this looks good. There's actually beautiful, beautiful natural areas around us that we could do this with, like creeks and cliffs, and just should be exquisite. A lot of deer too. There's a lot of deer around here. It'd be very easy to capture them on camera. Let me continue reading. What comes to mind for American Zarathustra? It was compelling to meet the artists, their work, the serious mood of the discussions, sheltered from news coverage, having Nullis as co-host. Very good, very good. This is all good stuff. The Imperium Art Show was an academic show, although we had a lot of fun and stuff with it, but it was very, very much about, you know, what's the trajectory of the arts in our movement, in our culture. So that's a pretty big topic. Whoa, sorry, slipped. Let's see. Well-being says the best place to hear Decat. Thanks. Read the lyrics to Nature Boy. I'll have to look it up. Oh, great, great. Okay, spirits, the essence of a region, entity, etc. So, I'll tell you some interesting stories that are kind of meant to be secret, but I guess they won't be secret anymore. Um, so, some years back, I'm gonna zoom out and you can watch me noodle around on this. Um, Quite a few years back, I I'll just say this. So, like, there's a where I live. There's a local artist that I like a lot. I've seen his work around a lot, and he's Native American and First Nations. And so there was a kind of an art fair type event nearby where I live, and I saw that he was going to be at it, and I thought, oh, cool. I'll get a chance to actually meet this guy, and I can have, like, art talk, talk shop. How do you what's the because he basically uses kind of modern painting strategies, but uses Native American symbolism, and I just thought it works really well, and he just has a beautiful touch to his work. So I thought this is going to be great. Well, we became pretty good friends. He's a lot older than me. He's an elderly guy, and he saw that my passion for this, and introduced me to tribal leaders in the government of his nation. And I was like, oh wow, this is it's phenomenal. I'm like having lunch with these tribal leaders of this nation. And then I was an art teacher. I worked in like a high school at the time, and said they were like, we would really like it if you could do consultation at for our tribal leaders meeting on our local schools, and try to get us updated with whatever practices are being used to help the kids. And so I'm like, oh my God, I would love to do that. So I would drive to their, um, it's not a reservation, it's a territory. So I would drive to their territory, which is pretty far away, frankly. I have to go over these kind of mountainous areas, but I always enjoyed doing it because it was, in a sense, kind of like what this guy is doing, and then going into the native culture. And it was just extremely beautiful countryside, especially in the winter, believe it or not. Like, I just can't tell you how magical it was for me at the time. And so I had a lot of, whatever I did that quite a bit, and they learned to trust me. And so I would, afterwards we would hang out and go out or something, have lunch, this or that, whatever. And then they would just sort of randomly talk about things like, you know, they know where the bones of giants are buried on their territory, for example, and that's kind of like not something that they want the white man to know. That's like a big secret. And that for me was like, wow, because they're explaining, like, they have their what we would call mythology, but what they believe, and it's, I guess, their religion. It's all of these words don't really match up with who they are or what they are, but, like, you know, let's say their religion, right? Okay, so what else? There was a certain mountain that I was told, like, it's okay to go camping and stuff around here and there, but that mountain over there, don't ever go on that mountain, because I'm like, why? And it's like, there are wild spirits there, and if you go there, like, you think you're gonna, you think you're gonna, like, oh, not me, I'll be fine or whatever. They'll drive you mad. Like, you will literally, if you survive, like, you might not, you might not make it through the night, but if you do, you'll be like possessed and be driven mad. I was like, oh shit. So it's just interesting things. They talk about the little people. They have like their own little people. They're like fairies or something. And I mean, these. I'm telling you, like they believe it. It's not like a believe. It's like a I know it kind of a thing. You know, where it's like, well, I've never seen them, but I believe they're there. No, it's like, you know, they talk about the little people like you would talk about your friend. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of wild. It's pretty neat stuff. So I'm gonna read the comments here. Okay. Okay. Hold on. I gotta take a proper look at the chat here. Let me zoom in a bit for you. Spirits, fire talks, care of a lot, problems with animals coming for a bite. There was a boy, very strange, enchanted boy. Dude, that's one of my favorite songs. I love that. Nat King Cole does a beautiful version of it. Diana Krall does a beautiful version of it. That is, you hit the spot right there. Very, it's kind of a sad song actually. There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy. They say he wandered very far, over land and sea, a little shy and sad of eye, but very wise was he. So that resonate with that in the sense of like that kind of loner life, I guess. Not like I'm a loner, but like spiritually, you know. High Speed Drifter says, and then one day, a magic day, he passed away. And while he spoke of many things, fools and kings, this he said to me: the greatest thing you'll ever learn, just to love and be loved in return. That's exquisite. That is so sweet, dude. I'm so happy that you brought that here and that I could read that. Thank you kindly. It's a wonderful melody, absolutely. Red-haired white people. Yeah, the Giants. Okay, so let me tell you more about the Giants story. Hold on. Oh, you're gonna love this. You're gonna freaking love this. Hold on a second, guys. This is gonna flip you out. So, oh, you're gonna love this. All right, now. I won't get too deep into this, but hold on. This is like a kind of a Native American superhero team that I did for them. And since we're going there, I'm just gonna go there. Hold on, let me back out. And you see the characters, the superheroes, and then underground, those are what are called the stone giants. And this is my depiction of the kind of mythological stone giants in their mythology, which I studied and was told about. But the actual giants that I'm referring to from their stories, these are tribal chiefs, okay, and they're talking to me saying we had to genocide them. We had to because they were eating our people. And it's like, they're not proud of the fact that they did that in the sense that, the sort of morality of it, but simultaneously, if your people were the food, of giants, what, of course you're gonna have to do what you got to do. And that story, I heard this like, God, when it was like, back in 2012 or something. Like, it was a very, long time ago. I knew very little about giants and that whole thing, and I've researched a lot about it since, and that matches right up with other things that I've heard. So it is pretty neat. Yeah, the red-haired giants. Yeah. So moving on, Hippocratic Oath. What color were those giants? So in this comic book story, they're made out of stone, and that's just part of like the mythology of it. But anyway, that's just that. What else are we saying here? Western Kind United says, talking of spirits in India, people believe that their grandmother, for example, can be reincarnated as a cow. Her spirit would inhabit a base creature such as a cow. This does not appeal to me. Well, All right, as far as reincarnation goes, I'll say one interesting thing for you guys to ponder, and that is that nuclear science has shown us that matter is energy, and energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. So take that to the bank. All right. Western Kind says someone asks the Indian guy how that he knows that the cow is the grandmother. Well, the cow shits on the sheets just like she did while alive. So I walked right into that one. I stepped right into that one. I wonder if people of Western kind are naturally inclined against the idea of being reborn postmodern as some of these creatures. Well, I'm going to tell you straight up, I believe in reincarnation, and that comes from my Buddhist studies. The Buddha had blue eyes, just for your information. He was known as the Great Arya, and Arya is a derivation of Aryan. So I'm just throwing that out there. His family has Siddhartha Shakyamuni's family roots go back to Iran, and so he was Indo-European, if not Scythian. I would argue that, or there's an argument that his ancestors were Scythian. Whole other avenue we're going down here, but when you see swastikas on Buddhist churches and temples, you're opening up a big can of worms. So but like from an atomic science and a quantum physics perspective, reincarnation is the much more rational answer. And so from the Buddhist perspective, it's driven by the law of karma, that what the deeds you do in this life determine your evolution or devolution or de-evolution. So if your deeds are so heinous and so low, then it is not unnatural to be born in the animal kingdom. But according to Buddhism, there's several realms, I guess, to be born in, and you could be a hungry ghost, you could be a demon, you could be a demigod, you could be a Buddha, you see what I'm saying? So, I didn't really think I was going to talk about that tonight, and I'm not trying to convert anybody, I'm not trying to convert anyone, but I will tell you 100% that I believe in reincarnation for sure. Hippocratic Oath says, I raise Brahmin cattle. It's a tender subject. Are you saying like tender beef? Is that a joke? My understanding of Buddhism is that the ultimate objective is cease the process of suffering and desire, and finally to no longer be reincarnated. Nirvana is non-existence. Is this accurate? So nirvana is it's asking like what is nirvana is sort of like asking what is God. And having studied and practiced and contemplated this for half my life, I will give you my thoughts on this. So God, I'm just going to say this stuff, and like you can simply ask me questions, you can drop it, you can debate me, you can do whatever you want with it, but this is 100% where I'm at, and that is this. So God is the sum of all consciousness, and that we are the ideation of God through which God knows itself. And I don't know if I think that's a pretty simple way to put things. So, however, in the third dimension, in this physical realm, of which there's other realms, other dimensions. So the spirit realm is another dimension. That'd be more like the fourth dimension. We're in the third dimension. So one suffers. The nature of having a physical body is suffering, and desire is intimately entwined in it. So the desire to feel and have any kind of physical experience leads to the manifestation in which you must suffer. So the human body is born, is it gets sick, it ages, and it dies. So all of those things are suffering. And yes, we have beauty and all this other wonderful stuff, but the bigger, truer context of all of it is suffering. And so much as like a Buddhist would say that, like, you know, let's say, I don't know, the desire for something positive in the end brings suffering because it's attachment to the physical form. And the physical form is technically illusory in the sense that it's just a merging of numerous things. I don't want to get too esoteric and weird about this, but let's just say that when you reach nirvana, you merge totally with God, and you're no longer reborn back into the physical realm. So if you had a choice of being you or completely merging 100% with God, the total divine master of all creation. you know, like, you see what I'm saying? Like, compare your life to God's life. You know what I'm saying? So that's it. So nirvana is not returning to the cycle of reincarnation. Now, some of this stuff is theoretical, some of it is science, some is belief, some is faith. But I would say, for certainly someone like myself who's practiced and contemplated and investigated these things, this is all totally real to me. There's no, it's not like some goofy, Oriental fantasy. Ooh, look how spiritual I am, baby. Check out my beads, man. Oh, I want to sell you some crystals, and I'll do a consultation for $100. It's not that. Um, so like it's life and death. It's life and death. So I would think of nirvana for us Westerners as the state of God. So like I do believe that God, in a sense, is a kind of personhood, the way we are. But at the same time, it's like the 12th dimension. It's so far past our ability to understand. And it's, in a sense, not 100% necessary to understand. It's better to experience God, I guess. But anyway, let me move on here with these discussions. The Brahmin was the mascot of my high school. Oh, okay. So did that answer the question well? Was that, a good, a clear answer? Um, yeah, yeah. Let's see. No worries about sounding weird. I have curiosity and enjoy to hear the observations and reflections of others. That's an excellent thing to have, my man. That's where wisdom will come from. References for comparison and reflection. Yes, so that's the thing, is that I think that we need to go through life kind of like a detective. And you gather as much knowledge from as many resources as you can, and you spread all that data out, and you look at it and say, oh, like, for example, you know, years ago, I heard these tribal leaders talking about giants that used to live in this region and how they used to eat the Native Americans, and that they, and da da da. And then years later, I'm researching giants, and they talked about cannibalism and how they would eat people, and I'm like, wow, you see how those things they corroborate, So if I were a lawyer in a court of law, and I wanted to, prove something at least beyond a reasonable doubt, then I would say, okay, here are these two sources of information that are completely separate from miles and miles and through time, yet they say the same thing. So does that not make you, you know, think, okay, this is probably true. This could be true, right? So take the same approach to things like Buddhism, if you are so inclined to, or anything, any religion, any philosophy. These are the ways of wisdom, I would say. Western Kind says, I elevate the response as a decent overview of the matters brought up. Okay, all right. Well, guys, I know I just got cooking here with this amazing conversation, but like I pretty much finished up the artwork that I wanted to do. Um, it's I wasn't looking to paint a masterpiece or something, but I just wasn't in the mood to do comics, and I have this film project on my mind, so I wanted to sort of allow myself to envision some ideas, just to kind of put them on paper. What makes understanding difficult is a storyteller can be just a storyteller. So that's part of the magic of the arts. Is this? It is a storytelling, right? Comics are storytelling. Film is storytelling. But there's something about the power of story or narrative that transforms people. Your life is a story, as a beginning, middle, and an end. And who's the hero of the story? What are the tragedies? What are the joys? What are the ups and downs? And who did you love? And who did you hate? And how did you grow? What did you lose? What did you gain? There's so many powerful experiences that, like tears in rain. They just disappear, but the arts capture them. They hold on to them. They turn them in. They crystallize them into something that can stand the test of time. And if these stories can get into the minds and the hearts of our people, then they become legends and myths, and they carry on through generations. And so that is, to me, that is the thing that's more valuable than gold. You see, let's see. Hippocratic Oath says the real history of America is weird. Actually, that's very true. There's a book called something like Weird History America, or America Weird History something, and it talks about a lot of the kind of the colonies that started back in the day. Like there wasn't a country. There were just all these sort of like camps, basically, of different colonies across the East Coast. And these are a lot of people that were running away from Europe, to practice, well, their religions or their style of their da 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 da. And some of these, if you read some of these stories, they get pretty kinky. But then, like, I always feel like, see, that's why when I see a film like The Revenant or even True Grit, the recent True Grit, the Coen brothers, I know they're Jewish, but great filmmakers. Anyway, that I always feel like if you're gonna make a film about a time in the past, it should absolutely not have the vernacular and the norms of today. You shouldn't feel like you just in a time machine, or you're watching it on a stage in a theater. It literally feel like it's actually in that time period. And things were different. Everything was different. Anyway, Western Kinds United says it was a pleasant surprise encountering this channel and stream. I could go on discussing various matters for hours. I know. Um, maybe we should. Maybe we'll just be here for 25 hours. No. You know what? Here's the thing. So, like I mentioned earlier in the show, I'm going to be doing a Christmas show for the White Art Collective, and I'm going to be dropping the StreamYard link into the White Art Collective chat, and as well as some other areas. And so literally leaving an open door. Now, I don't know how many people can come on a live stream at one time without the software like crashing or something. I don't know. I've been on shows where there were, maybe 10 to 12 people on screen at one time. And I can't have like everybody on at the same time, but do like an open door policy. Somebody can come on for a little while. Hey, how was your year? What are you going what are your plans next year? Tell us what you're up to. Chitty chat, haha, Merry Christmas. Okay, and our next guest, And so if if you're in any of those chats, you could pop in the show. Thank you, sir. Keep it up. Nice to have everyone. Good company. Absolutely. Hippocratic Oath says, I was thinking older history like the flood. Whoa, pyramids. Yeah, that's going back. That our gods like Apollo came from American Ameru and they were giants. Plato suggests crazy stuff. Yeah, man. Damn, dude, that's the whole show in itself. It's like a big. I'm not like qualified to talk about that either, but I love that stuff. Anyway, my dudes, it is. Oh my god, I can't believe it's like almost 12. I wow. What do you know? It's been a good time. Weird How, please expand on this. Um, well, gents, I think I'm gonna have to have you guys, you know, text each other or not text, but like meet up on Twitter or someplace and chat more about it because I'm trying to wrap up the show. Anyway, I love you all. It's a whole nother show. Yes, exactly. Later, guys. All right, God bless you all. Love you. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you next time. Adios.